This is all about the importance of volume. It's a Tim Grittani webinar highlight. I am hungover as fuck, and stocks can go higher than you think. Let's get into the bukkake. Welcome to Jonk does penny stocking. Do you ever just wish you could disappear? Whoa, I just went to another universe where I had a fucking better haircut. Tim Grittani webinar, it's pretty fucking sweet. It's the importance of volume and how to really judge a stock and react to it. I'll leave it there. Let's enjoy. This is a Tim Grittani webinar from the 28th of April. I think there's about 60 on for challenge members. He's just running over kind of recent patterns and charts and how to play them. I'll say no more and let it run.
Trying to think of a good example here. Probably VLTC. I mean, that's kind of a ridiculous example because it ran so well, and it's just so rare to see one go like this and have so many breakouts. But there are a lot of good breakouts in there to learn from. So the first thing I'm always looking at when I'm trying to figure out how far back to go is I'm looking at the volume on the daily chart. I want to be playing off of a breakout level with big volume. Actually, instead of VLTC, let's talk DGLY. I love the DGLY chart because it's such a pretty breakout before it went absolutely nuts. In this case, I was going back a month when I was looking at resistance because it had this first spike in July where it got up to about 940, 950, something like that, and then faded back and consolidated for a month, and then suddenly had this second push where it started back down to the $3 area. Some kind of news came out again, and for a couple days it ran back up into this 880 area. Now, if we're looking at DGLY and this July run had never happened, I'm looking at this 880 level. I'm saying, okay, if this builds back up, if it breaks 880, it's a breakout because none of these days had any kind of significant volume. I mean, even if some of these days back in July it traded up at $10 or $11, but it traded 100,000 shares or 200,000 shares, I don't really care. What I care about is these 2 days right here where volume is so much higher than it had been before. And then I say, okay, we get the 880 breakout, great, I'll buy it because anyone who was short during this couple day run is going to get squeezed, and it should go higher. But because a couple months before, I've got to zoom out on this chart again, but because a month before it had had this huge volume run up into the 950 area, that was really the main resistance I would be thinking about, is the fact that, okay, it might break out past 880, but what if 950 stuffs it? And the reason 950 concerns me is because it was big volume on these days. Again, I don't care about that 950 level if these 2 days had traded like 50,000 shares or a couple 100,000 shares, but we're talking about 6.2 million shares and 11 million shares. So that's big volume, and I think that's big resistance. So I'm not buying on an 880 break here because I'm worried about it getting stuffed 70 cents later. Now, in the DGLY case, I didn't wind up buying at all. It actually built back for a couple days and then had a big gap up, and I guess it did eventually break through that 950 and get going crazy. But as far as how far I'm looking back goes, I hope that kind of answers your question. I'll look back on a 1-year chart or a 2-year chart, and I'll just try to figure out what were resistance levels when there was major volume traded. SYMX, and this goes for shorts also, not just longs. SYMX yesterday, when that was having the morning spike, all I was thinking about, and actually let's start with the 1-year chart again. You look at the 1-year chart on SYMX, and before yesterday, the biggest volume day it had was 3 million shares traded, it looks like, up to a buck, and that was a $1.60 high. And then the days before that, I think the 52-week high was a $1.94 or something like that. And the volume was okay those days. I mean, it was like 1 million shares, 500,000 shares, a couple million shares in a couple cases. But I didn't really have confidence in that resistance level. I wasn't thinking like, okay, 194, the 52-week breakout is huge and meaningful, because the volume it was trading just from the start of yesterday was so staggering. I think by 10 o'clock it had already traded the most volume in the past year. So I looked back a little bit further, and the 2-year chart, all of a sudden now we have a couple days here from a couple years ago, most specifically this one where it had the high of 249, and it traded 13 million shares on that day. It was the big volume, like last time the stock had great news or whatever, and it had this big spike and failed up at about 250. So yesterday, when the stock was spiking and it was up into the twos, I was really, really hoping that this spike would get going and get going closer to that 250 level, because then to me, that's shorting into a major daily resistance level. I'm sure.
Yeah, he's showing into a major daily resistance level on heavy volume. And it's funny that all of the patterns that he's trading now in 2015 or then in 2015 are still happening all of the time now. It's staggering to see, but it's also the importance of volume when you're making a decision on a long or a short. That's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed it. I want you to comment live forever if you got to the end of the video, and that's because I always kind of look back and think, I remember a year or 2 years ago when I had no real mission or purpose or objective or goal or strategy to get there. And I was like, it's morbid, but if I died, like it would be bad and I would feel some disappointment, but it wouldn't be terrible. But like now, with trading and with YouTube and with the haters and with my own personal development for success, I'm like, I wake up every morning thinking, please let me live as long as fucking possible to achieve this dream and then help others achieve the dream and then fucking some.
Maybe I don't really want to know how your garden grows, 'cause I just want to fly. Lately, did you ever feel the pain? Morning rain soaks you to the bone. Maybe I just wanna fly. I wanna live, I don't wanna die.